Howdy y'all, thank you for joining me today for more reveals of my top 100 for 2022. If you haven't watched my other videos, I'm just going to talk about basically the way I made this list. This is my top 100 games in my opinion at the moment as of doing this at the end of 2022. So I actually done this beginning this year in January. And most of this video is just to kind of have a video recording of what I think about these games. That way I can re-look at this later when reviewing these games again and see if why they may have moved down, maybe what I said, so I can have video. Figured I'm making video anyways, why not just go ahead and do it. And then the other part is kind of, for the same reason I watch other top 10s and top 100s, is hoping that I can introduce you to maybe some games that you may like also or may not have heard of or something like that. So either way, and the way I came about this list or made this list was I used Pub Meeple, and I done it 10 times with all the games I had in there and averaged basically everything, and these were the top 100 on average of where they placed at on Pub Meeple. So, and I haven't actually looked at this list on purpose. I found it fun when I did the earlier videos, especially when I saw some surprises. So other than my top 10, I don't know what is actually in here. I know what should be about in there, but I don't know what actually is in here and where it's at. So this has been kind of fun for me to reveal and talk about as I look at the numbers and whatnot. So either way, without much ado, let's get right into it. We're going to start with number 70. So my number 70 has actually been on this list for a little bit now. It was 90s. Actually, it almost fell off last year, and I know why it came back higher. So it almost fell off last year at 96. But that could have just been a fluke also, because it was 54 the year before that and 64 the year before that. So this is Castles of Mad King Ludwig. And I know what made it come up a little bit higher is I did get the Colossal Edition from the Kickstarter. And just playing with that Colossal Big Edition, where if you don't know what the Colossal Edition of Castles of Mad King Ludwig is, it's all the pieces in the game, but they're 4 times bigger. But also, they just did other things I enjoy playing that adds to it on top of the game. And that's, instead of using cards, it uses the poker chips for the favor that the king's looking for. And instead of using the small cards, they went to bigger cards. Plus, it had an extra expansion, which kind of felt like a player power, and I kind of like that too. But if you haven't played Castles of Mad King Ludwig, what it is, it's a game where you're kind of going to be buying stuff, taking turns as the master builder, and I don't want to say it's so much an auction, even though that's what it is. You're making bids for the rooms, but the master builder each turn is going to set these rooms out, and you're going to buy those rooms and add them to your castle, trying to either score more victory points depending upon your goals, or to score victory points depending upon the king's goals that are on the king's favor. And then at the end of the day, you just keep going back and forth till the room deck runs out, and whoever has the most points wins. But it's pretty cool just to see, even if you don't have the Colossal Edition, which I do like that a lot. I can't see myself wanting to play the basic anymore. This game is just a lot of fun to play, a lot of fun to see how weird you can make your castle, how you can get it going and whatnot, and just see what you can put together inside your castle, especially if you like tableau building or just playing a game where you get to see what you accomplished afterwards. This is definitely one of those games where even when you lose, you can just look and go, look, see, you come in here and you can go over to the left, you can get you some cheese, you can go to the right and get you some wine, or you can go forward, you can go into the orchard. Like, it's just cool to see what type of castle you can build and whatnot. So that's Castles of Mad King Ludwig, my number 70. My number 69 is Ex Libris. It's actually been here, I think, since the beginning. It was number 69. Last year, 38. Then 52 the year before that, and then 20 before that. So kind of all over the place here. This game is out of print. It is one of the early Renegade games that I had played. I like this game a lot, mostly because of the way the worker placement tiles work. Not only do you get one thing that I love in games, but you get a worker that is unique, that gets to do something unique in the game that nobody else's worker is doing. But not only do you have that, which I just love about most games, or basically that's in the game, I'm going to like the game probably to an extent. And now also you randomize these tiles that you're going to be worker placing on, and some of those tiles will be staying out for future turns. Well, one from each of the grouping, but either way, just random tiles, random of how you're going to be building your library spatially, and just the way of getting points and figuring out which books you want in there, and then reading some of the titles on the books is just great. So, and then the theme, everything about this I just kind of like. It's a kind of, like I said, fun worker placement game, but it's very random. There's a lot of randomness to it, like you're just not getting the right books at the right time, or because of the tiles that came out, your books aren't coming out that you need. So it's just fun to play and see where you end up at the end. But like I said, unfortunately, this game is out of print, and I think pretty pricey if you want to get yourself a version of it at this point. But definitely was one of the things that put Renegade Games on my radar. Like, okay, that was a good game. Let's see what else they got. So you can check out Ex Libris if you want to. This is my number 69. My number 68 is actually new to my list. It's an Awakened Realms game. It is The Great Wall. This is a really neat game, really cool. I like the way some of the player powers work. I like the way the worker placement works on protecting the wall and whatnot. A lot about that I liked about it was the way the player powers worked and whatnot, and getting your points through the wall, and just a really cool, unique game. I can't really place any other game that I've played that is 100% like this, or, well, if a game was 100% like it, you wouldn't be doing it, but a game that's really like this. This kind of has its own unique feel, and it's one of those games I definitely always want to play again. Just, it is a table hog because it takes up a lot of space, but really cool. And if you like Awakened Realms with their miniatures and whatnot, and just Awakened Realms games in general, then this is one of those that sticks out. Great Wall is definitely one of those that I saw the first Kickstarter, didn't back it because I was like, I don't know. And then someone got it, brought it to the shop, we played it. I still haven't bought it. I want to, and now it's in my top 100. I guess kind of want to own my top 100 games. So this is one I definitely want to eventually buy. I think I'm just going to have to go ahead and late pledge and just get a version of it, just because I do like this game a lot. So check it out, The Great Wall. Speaking of new games to my list, now my number 67 is new to my list also. And I kind of figured this one would end up on there, but it's Bloodborne, the board game. I knew nothing about the video game going into this. This game came across from my distributor, and I was able to get a demo copy of it. And then I'd heard bad things about Dark Souls, so I was a little worried since I know they're not the exact same, but they're kind of in the same vein. So I was like, I don't know. But one day I was happy to be sitting at the shop, gonna play a solo game, saw that demo sitting there. I was like, you know what? Let me go ahead and try it out solo. And instantly I knew after the first play, I was like, I like this game. And I made sure I bought all the expansions. And even now I kind of want to go back and get all the Kickstarter stuff that I missed, because just the way the game plays, it's got deck building, which I like the deck building. It's got the story deck and the way it can branch off and do different things. So just a great game in general. Plus it's got the big miniatures and really an ease of play. The only hard part's kind of when you go into your hunter phase, hunter sleep or whatever. I can't think of what it's called right now. Like I said, don't play the video game as much, so I'm sure that would be like on there if I was playing the video game a lot, or haven't played the video game. But I noticed that Hunter's Dream or whatever, going in there and timing, if you can go in there with XP, or if you get forced in there because you get knocked out because you lose your XP. So it's just figuring out the timing in that game has just been a lot of fun. doing the deck building, seeing what I could do, seeing how the story branches. Great game. Little dungeon delving with a little storytelling element to it. And I haven't even touched... I'm still experiencing the stuff from the base game. As much as I said I wanted to buy and do have a bunch of the other stuff, I haven't even touched any of that stuff yet. I'm still just learning and experiencing fun just through the base box. So, kind of figured this was going to be in there instantly just because of how much fun I'm having just with the base game. So, I see this one staying in there for a little bit longer. My number 66 was a big surprise for me. I had no interest in playing the game. Somebody bought the game, and after I played it, really enjoyed the game. It is Battle for Rokugan, and I think I'm saying that right, Rokugan. Pretty sure it's right, Rokugan. Great game. I did not expect to. It was a. Basically, I don't want to say quite troops on a map, but definitely area control. I just wasn't looking for that type of game. Wasn't really interested in it. Played it. And the replayability just alone in that base box instantly grabbed me. I loved it. Every time I've introduced this, other than one person who just had a bad experience in the game and doesn't like it because of that, everyone else loves it. And of course, it's out of print now. And it is disappointing it went out of print because I would have liked to have seen, like, I've already said that there's still so much replayability in it just with a little bit, but I actually thought whenever I played it, I already saw, like, man, all they gotta do is add a few more cards here or a few more things here, and that replayability is gonna go up a lot. So I was hoping for an expansion, also thinking, oh, I can always get myself a copy down the road, because the only reason I didn't really want to buy it right then and there was before I got my 3D printer. Because my issues with the game, and still to this day, are you're doing bluffing and things with cardboard, and all it takes is any of that cardboard to get nicked up or something, and you're going to be able to tell some things. And I was waiting to get some type of plastic, and I'm sure that could always be replaced. I know ways you could do it. It just also would lose a lot of the beauty of the game from the art and the symbols and stuff. But great game if you haven't tried it. Like I said, it is out of print. It is hard to find. And if you can find a copy, it's probably going to be kind of almost double price, I think is the last thing I saw. But if you get a chance to play it and you want to try it out, it's really cool, really simple. Like, the rulebook's only like 4 pages if I remember right, maybe 6. I don't know. But just the simplicity of how it does everything, try to pull off your goals, how to do the area control, how to do the combat, and giving you one strong thing that can just let you raise and just destroy one area. I mean, just, there's a lot of things I can go into that game, but it's a really good game. I don't see this one falling off my list. There was one time it was real low, but I think that was just either a fluke or I just hadn't played it for that year, because every time I play this, it stays about where it's at. Because like I said, it was 66 this year, 41, 59. Like, it's kind of hanging around in that same 10 or 20. So I think this one's going to probably stay there. Problem is, the copy I have is not my copy. It is someone else's copy. So, and then because I am worried about it getting beat up, we only play it a little bit, because maybe once or twice a year, because I don't want to tear up their copy. But eventually I do want to get my own copy and maybe find a way to be able to save the cardboard, maybe put it inside some coin holders in some way to where it can be used. But they're kind of arrow-like, so I don't know how well the coin holders will show those arrows. So we'll have to see. But great game. Battle for Rokugan. My number 65 has been on my list. Actually, there was one year it wasn't. It must have made like 120. And I can guarantee it's because I didn't play it for a while. But it was one game for a while, and then it got reprinted. And I did just play the re-implementation of it. And that's the reason I noticed it went up. It went up because of that re-implementation and the IP they used. But basically, this is Mage Knight or Star Trek Frontiers is the one that it's pretty similar. I mean, there are differences, and I think I'm both ways. There's some differences I think are really good, and there's some differences that I think are eh. But at the end of the day, the differences aren't that big. It's pretty much the same game. You get the same feel, you get the same everything. The only difference is the IP, whether you want the fantasy Mage Knight feel or do you want the Star Trek IP, basically. And I guarantee the Star Trek IP, because I do love Star Trek, except for Next Generation and pretty much anything that came out after Deep Space Nine, just garbage. Yeah, but either way, good game. I think if there's anything, it's a little convoluted. Like, I always want to put this to the table and show people it, but one, I don't want to teach it. If you played Mage Knight, Star Trek doesn't clean that up anymore. It's got so many little rules and so many differences. Like, oh, you're attacking this, that means you have to do this, then this, then this. Oh, wait, no, you're attacking this type of thing. Well, you don't do it this way, this way, this way. The way you did that last one, you got to do it this way, then this way. Like, a lot of convoluted rules. And even when I'm playing it, and I played it a bit now on both ends, I still find myself going, all right, I'm taking care of this. Where's the card, or where's the area in the book that tells me step by step what I need to be doing here? And before I go do that, let me make sure I actually have the hand I need and not thinking of something else. Other than that, I love the way the deck building works. I love the way the exploring works. I like the way it feels like an adventure game, but lets me do my deck building and feel like I'm doing a little bit more. If there's anything that kind of sucks in that game, is the last few cards are maybe the cards you're building up to. You get them, and you get to play them one time. Because the way that game works is the rounds go by, or the round ends when somebody uses up their whole deck. So that means they got to use all their cards once. And then everyone else finishes out. And now you're going to reshuffle your deck and play again. So any cards you gain on another one, even though they go straight to your hand, you're only going to get to play them that one time on that last round. And then that's it. But I guess you could also argue, well, you got to use all your other cards. And you got to just get this card. So as long as you weren't building to just that. And teaching this game, like I already touched on, is just a monster, is a beast. I mean, even the rule book teaches it to you in kind of phases, like, hey, play this game, that's going to teach you how to do all this stuff. Now play this game, which is going to take that stuff and add more stuff. But if you're looking for something, you like deck building, you like the adventuring, you like either a fantasy IP or Star Trek IP, and you want something with a little bit more complexity as far as how you decide to play your cards, because really, as much as a deck building, it's also a lot of hand management. Like, this is what I happen to have in my hand at the moment. How do I best use these cards so that I can draw some more of my cards? Or how do I hold these so I can use them for better stuff until I draw the cards? So that's got that in spades, and I enjoy that about this game quite a bit. And yeah, like I said, it's 65. It was 82 the year before. So I think just the IP alone, because even before that, well, the year before that is when it didn't show up. I'm assuming it probably just popped into the 120, because I just don't see it falling that far. But then it was 77 before that, so it's been about the same spot, and I think it just kind of went back up again because of the IP. I mean, getting to play Cisco or Kirk or whatnot just lets me nerd out on that. So Mage Knight / Star Trek Frontiers, number 65. But number 64 is a Kickstarter I just got in this year, and I kind of figured it'd be in my top 100 because it's a bag builder. I just wasn't sure because while I like it as a bag builder, it's got other things that are just kind of meh to me. But I love the game. It's Meeples and Monsters. I mean, building a bag of meeples and using those meeples to work or place on certain spots or defeat certain monsters, or leveling up your basically, if you're taking a bunch of warrior meeples, and then you level up your warrior to where those meeples have more power to where they can fight, or they have other abilities to where they can work in place and do some other stuff. Just really cool. And I'm expecting, it's an AEG game, so I already knew it was going to be a good game. That was the reason I kind of backed it. For the most part, AEG always puts out good games. So now, pretty much with AEG, I'll look at their games usually because the games are always good. And if even good, and then they usually have good production too. Like, just, it's kind of like in that Elf Creek. Not quite as good as Elf Creek. Elf Creek just always impresses me as far as like component quality. But you know your quality. The components aren't going to be just, oh, here's a bunch of cardboard punch outs. I'm sure they got some like that, but for the most part, usually they find a way to, here's a bunch of cool stuff, or here's some cool components that you get to mess with along with this game, and some unique ideas, and usually at least a good game. So they're usually a good game to bet on if you see an AEG game, and Meeples and Monsters was just that. So when I saw bag building, plus it has the fantasy theme, which I do like the fantasy theme, and it has a way to level up your Meeples. Once again, making my meeples be able to do something that someone else's meeples cannot do. And I just kind of figured this was going to possibly make my top 100. Now we see it did, just because of that alone. We'll see how much it holds up, because there for a while we were playing it steady, and then we either just got distracted by playing other games or just haven't put it on the table. I'm going to say more just distracted by playing other games and whatnot, because there's a couple times when I've even looked over as we're trying to decide what to play, and I'm like, how about Meeples and Monsters? But then we decide on something else. But I do think this one will hit the table still more. I do like playing it. Cool game. Check it out if you like the bag builders and whatnot. And speaking of bag builders, my number 63 is a bag builder that now I think will stay in my top 100, whereas before I was getting kind of meh on it, and that's Quacks of Quedlinburg. I like this game a lot. I just feel the last expansion, Alchemist I think it was, it's the one that adds where you're going for essence and gives you basically a player power or a particular disease that you specialize in, and other people can be doing the same ones, but to me, that made it more of a bag builder. Whereas before, yes, you are buying components and putting them into a bag. But to me, it was just, oh, well, I know these two things work or these two things work, and that was all you were doing. Whereas now I feel like with Alchemist and that essence thing, while it does add a lot more time to the game and more complexity to the game, I think, but I think it adds more to where it's like, well, yeah, while it was cool to be able to just get this, do I really need that in my bag? It's not really, other than helping me get one more essence, is that really going to help effectively in this game and in my bag? So I feel like this added more of that bag building element. And then plus, I like the rest of the game. I like the pressure luck. Even though I'm bad at it, I always press my luck wrong or just draw poorly. But at least it's an easy game. It's something I can always pop out to people with the pressure luck, and everyone seems to always have fun, and it's simple, get it on the table, and everyone seems to have fun and have a good time just seeing what they can put into their bag and whether they should press their luck or not. It does have a very good element of pressure luck to the bag building, I feel like. Like some of my other pressure luck games I could think of just don't feel like they feel like they have too much randomness to it, like Lords of Vegas and stuff that I enjoy playing, but I feel like someone randomly rolling dice can just mess up your pressure. Like, I pressed my luck and it didn't really do anything because someone else was able to do it. This doesn't feel like that. Plus, no one else is really going to affect your pressure luck, other than if they're going further than you, then you might want to be like, all right, well, kind of forced to press my luck here, but it's all up to you. And I feel like this is a very good, it meets that middle, that's what a lot of people end up enjoying about it at the end of the day. It's a shame that you have to buy extra components, like the plastic components if you have it from BGG, or I think you can get covers and stuff from Meeple Source and whatnot, but well worth the investment just because you are going to be pulling these components out a lot, and have a bunch of them in your bag you're swishing around, so those components will get beat up and probably aren't rubbed off. So those components from BGG, even them, they'll get a little rubbage, but at least they'll last a lot longer. And I even got this other thing from Meeple Source, I think, where it's these little boxes to store the meeples in, and they just got lids and everything to where all you gotta do is pop the lid open, put the what the ingredient does inside the lid there, and it easily displays, and it's got the numbers separate out to where you don't just dump the numbers on the table. Makes a lot easier for pickup and setting up and picking up the game. Only thing I found an issue with on it, but it's easy just to spin them around and do things, is, I never thought about getting like a Lazy Susan or something. But anyways, is sometimes if that's sitting there in the middle and you're sitting around a table, people have to spin around. What does that do? What does this? Hey, can you show me what the blue one does? But I never thought about getting like a Lazy Susan or something to where it could just be all in the middle. But great game if you haven't played it. And I think it will stay in there now because Alchemist, it was steadily falling down my list just because I just felt like it really wasn't a bag builder. It was just a simple game, a filler game is what it was feeling like to me until Alchemist. When Alchemist let me, oh man, that makes me, because of this disease, makes me really want to delve more into these two colors, and that's going to help me not only because of getting the essence, but it just helps me in the long run. I have no reason to mess with those colors. Whereas a lot of times I just bought the same ones that I liked using and didn't really feel like I was bag building. It's more of just throwing more stuff in my bag for thinning out the pressure luck element. So definitely moved up and probably will stay on my list now. Quetzalcoatlinburg. Kind of funny, my number 62 was actually 62 last year. And last year was the first year it was on the list. It's still staying here at 62. It is a Stonemaier Games. And it's called Euphoria. Euphoria, definitely, if you have played Scythe and some of the other Stonemaier games, you could definitely see certain elements of Euphoria spilling over into those games. And the main thing I really like about this game is the way the player powers work, because each person gets dealt 2 cards, which are basically the player powers and kind of the workers working for you. And you only get to pick one at the beginning of the game, which is kind of give you a direction and a faction and basically a player power to use. And the other one will get either unlocked by you or by someone else whenever that faction comes more into power. So it's just cool to time that and find that. And then there's other ways to get more of those cards so that you can have more player powers. That's one of the main elements I really like about it. And then just kind of the Logan's Run kind of feel, of trying to roll these dice. Of course, it's got dice rolling, so I always love that. So it's a dice placement game. And the lower the number, which is the more unwoke the dice / worker is, so to the goings on and what's really going on out there, how knowledgeable they are to it, and the idea you can use these lower numbers to do better, but then sometimes the higher numbers are what you're going to want so you can do more. So in its own way, it mitigates your dice rolling because of that. Because, I'm rolling low, well, that means I can come over here and I can do this and gain more in this faction or get more components because of this low number. Oh, I'm rolling high, well, that means I want to put it over here and use that to do this faction and get more, to possibly get more victory points or be able to draw more stuff. So just the way that works, I think, is really cool. But then also, if you have too many dice and you roll too high on the total of the dice when you re-roll, well, you lose workers because they wake up and they become basically like another you. I mean, they're out of the game, but they become like another you. They're like, oh, why are we working for the machine? We want to be woken doing off all this. I thought it was a great game. It's got a great solo, in my opinion. It's a little... That's where it actually felt was clunky. I feel like in the base game, it's not really all that... Like, just playing the game with other people, it's not all that clunky. I mean, you can see he's fine-tuned the games. That's the reason we get great games like he has, like Scythe and Wingspan now. But the bot does work. It's just a lot of looking up in the rules like, hold on, how does this bot work? But still gives you a great experience. I do feel like this is a game, though, that shines better the more players you have. I played it a lot at 3-player, and it works. It's fun. I just think more players, the more fun I've had in that game. So go check it out if you're a fan of Stonemaier games. Or just dice placement. It is unique. It is different. Euphoria. My number 61, I think I'd have been a little happier if it would have been my number 51. But it's 51st State. It's no... I kind of expected this to be... It actually went up, actually, for me. And I know why. It's because I have played it more now. And I like some of the things that the new expansions added to it. I haven't tried. I just got the new Ultimate Edition in from the Kickstarter with the newest expansion. Haven't tried that yet. I know another Portal games that should be higher up on my list. We'll see if it's there. And we'll talk about it then. If it's not, I'll be surprised if it isn't. But either way, this game, I do like the game a lot. I like the idea of building out your tableau. And the way each faction has its own, not really a big difference, but just a little slight different thing that they can do a little bit better in trades or whatnot. I like how simple the hand management is in it. Just draw from the deck, figure out ways to do things. Only thing I really don't like, and I haven't tried it or found out if it is a possibility. I don't like that you only can play with... I know why it's done. You can only play with 2 of the decks at once, or you can only mix in 1 or 2 of the decks. And I hate making that choice. We just roll a dice. We're going to use this deck this time. I always wanted to see if there is a way you could just mix in all the cards. It probably would play clunky then, and I can see why. Every deck has something unique that I want to play from that deck. So having to make that choice or have that random come up and it's kind of cool. We get to do that. It sucks we don't get to do that, but we get to do that. That was in this other deck that I like, but we get to do this from this deck. I don't like how unforgiving the game is. It's not really unforgiving, though. It's very slightly unforgiving, and that's the way other people can raid and do things to you. But it catches the theme of the game very much, post-apocalyptic and whatnot. But I love the mechanics. I love the way that series of games, Imperial Settlers, Empires of the North, and 51st State, and how just simple those mechanics are, and how it feels like once you get several things, you could do one thing that's going to allow you to do another thing, and it's going to allow you to do another thing that's going to allow you to do another thing down the road, and just keep doing your actions and holding out as long as you can, really, because it feels like in that game, whoever can have longer turns is just going to do better. Really cool balance the way it is. And every little expansion, even though it's just a little expansion, always just adds more to that game. Like there's one where it just puts a little, I can't remember what it's called, but it puts a little tile in between each player. And when somebody uses their action to activate that tile, it flips it over to give another action. So I may provide an action, I may do something to get some stuff, which flips over that tile, but now that gave the player to my right the ability to now do something, another action. It's going to give them stuff and vice versa and whatnot. So, really fun game. And then I think also, being from Texas, and now I have the faction of Texas and playing them just fun, just popped that game up higher for me. Because it was Yeah, it was going up actually. So I think it was just getting more play of it and enjoying that mechanic and whatnot, because it's 61 now. It was 83 the year before that, 93 before that. Actually, this looks like it's been steadily coming up out of my 120. That's weird because, yeah. So that's where it's been at, just steadily climbing. We'll see if it continues to climb. But that's number 61, 51st state. My number 60 is new to the list. I kind of figured it'd be here. I heard somebody, I think it might have been Mr. Tom Vassell on Dice Tower, that calls it Ratchet games. And I've heard others call it like a path, one-way path games or whatever. I like the term Ratchet games because it makes sense to me. And if you don't know it, well, the game's Glenmore 2 Chronicles. And Ratchet, it's just saying you go one direction. So you're going to, wherever you're at, you can only choose the action, or in this case, the tile that's anywhere in front of you. So anywhere in one direction, I could take that tile, but I'm not going to be able to go backwards. So any tiles I skip, that's going to allow everyone else just to go ahead and grab tiles and take their time, because it's whoever's last in place who gets to go next. So this is the first one I found that I just really enjoy so far, and I haven't even played with all the Chronicles. I try to mix new ones in every time. I do worry about when I eventually get all the Chronicles mixed in, that I'm going to have to teach everything to the game. Luckily, every Chronicle is just a little minor thing, so it's really just teaching a tile as it comes out so far. But also, the beauty of this game, just the beautiful artwork, I love it. The finding different paths and ways to go in the game and get your victory points. And then the idea of, if I build out too many tiles, it's actually going to hurt me if the person who is last didn't build out as many tiles. So I also need to try to work with my engine that I have and not get greedy. And it just also has that thing of, I enjoy in games, whether I win or not, being able to look down and look at what I built, look at my tiles I laid out, look at how many workers I have. I love that. And this game does it. It always feels a little short, but then again, every Chronicle's always usually adding a few more tiles, so it's always going to add a little bit more length, I feel. And someone could just be progressing the game quickly, but if they're doing that, they're just leaving a ton of victory points on the table to you. So far I've enjoyed every session of this game. I want to say the first time we played it wrong, but since then, just enjoyed it. And like I said, this is the first Ratchet game I found that I just really, really enjoy. I've always enjoyed the other Ratchet games. I either get wrapped up too much in the AP. I always worry too much that, oh man, I really hate trying to think about it. I need to go all the way here and get this because someone else may take it before me, but I need this. I get too wrapped up in it, and I just end up not enjoying the game for the game. This is the first one I found where it's like, yeah, I can move all the way there and take that, and I really want these two, but I want to make sure I get that. Yeah, I'm going to sacrifice these few things to get that. I don't feel as bad in this game. It doesn't feel like it feels so sufferable. And then I think I think a lot of it's also just the artwork and what I get to build and the things I get to do in the game. So check it out, Glenmore 2 Chronicles. I kind of figured this would be in there right after the first time I played it. And every time I played it, even though it's adding a lot more complex stuff, which is fine, I like complex in games. So even though it's adding more, it's just more enjoyable every time I play it. So Glenmore 2 Chronicles. My number 59 has been on my list, I think. Yeah, since the get-go. It incorporates everything I like as far as dice rolling goes. And it's been reprinted, but they lost something to it when they reprinted it as far as like reskinned it. It is Elder Sign. This is just Arkham Horror, the dice game. So it takes Arkham Horror, which when everyone was playing Catan and talking about how amazing Catan was when it first came out, I was playing Arkham Horror 2nd Edition, and that was my game. This is just the dice game version of it. And it just lets me roll a bunch of dice. The pressure luck element in it is, I just think, really good. And there's always those moments of, man, I can go over here, but I need to get 3 scrolls. And I don't have extra dice I can throw in to have a better chance of scrolls. So how much do I press my luck on it? Because if you haven't played it the way it works, you're going to get all your basic dice. You're going to roll them. If you don't get whatever you're looking for, you can't assign those dice to something. You have to get rid of 1 dice and then re-roll. So every time you're re-rolling, if you can't assign your dice, you're having to constantly lose a dice. So that pressure luck of, oh, I can place here. I have those right now, but we really need this here. So do I press my luck and just re-roll? So I love that. And the way each god makes each game feel different, or old god or elder god makes the game feel different because of the way they do. And then just depending upon the allies you get or the items you get, always a lot of fun. The fact that it can play up to 8 people co-op, and I have never put this on the table and not had people have a great time playing it. And it's staying about even on my list pretty regular. It was 59, 67, 47, 55. So all in about in the same spot. So let's make sure I was reading the right one. Yeah. So it's all been steady there, and I think it's going to stay steady there. And even every time, I haven't even played with all the expansions yet. I've just played a lot with just, because I usually play with one expansion, like I mix in an expansion, and then I play with that till I just feel like I've seen everything I can see from that, and then I'll mix in another one. And just so much replayability. I mean, the deck of cards and things that come out is already so big. And the way the monsters work in the game, it just always a great time. And when people are talking about the Yahtzee feel, this gives me my Yahtzee pressure luck element. And it's not far off from Quacks of Quellenberg, which, once again, we're talking about a pressure luck with some random elements to it. So it being this close to Quacks of Quellenberg makes sense. So it even makes me think more that the way I did this year with Pub Meeple and the averaging everything out is showing me where these things should be at, and this is about where it's at. So this is a easy introductory into the Arkham Horror vein. And then also, if they're not really into the Arkham Horror IP, then they're going to have fun just rolling dice and pressing their luck and throwing cards in to maybe help you, or getting help from you and getting blessed or cursed or whatever. Just good time, always had by all. I want to say the last time we played, I rolled I want to say it was like 6 or 7 dice and it rolled all scrolls like Yahtzee. It was just amazing. We didn't need scrolls, but amazing, you know. But good game. Elder Sign. My number 58 seems to be within 8 of where it was last year. It is a game I do enjoy playing. Not as much as a lot of people seem to enjoy it. I think a lot of that's the IP, and that is Dune Imperium. I love Dune Imperium. I feel like, if I had to say, the only reason I think it's as low is I just don't really like the theme. It's not really the theme, I should say the IP. I'm just not a fan, and I don't dislike the IP. I'm just not a fan of the IP. To me, Dune is what it is. I've watched the old movie. I've watched the new movie. I just, And I read the books. I'm more of a fan of the books, but not really. Like I said, I read the books because all my friends had read the books, and I just can't get into the IP. Other than that, I think the game's solid. I love the deck building element, especially once the expansions came out. I felt like pre-expansion, The deck building was just buy best card out there. I didn't really feel like it did anything. And I don't really get into the combat of the game. I know that's a way a lot of people will go. I'm more of the sit back and just win the combats that I need to win because they happen to provide the thing I need or want. And I find other ways to get the victory points. I really don't like the combat in the game. It's not that it's bad. It's not my cup of tea. And that's what's great about the game. You like the combat, that's a direction you can go. And you can build your deck and worker place to facilitate that being the way you get victory points. Or you can go up the faction tracks and get victory points that way and make sure you're holding the faction. But people might be doing things that will make them be able to take that faction from you as far as that faction thing, and you end up losing points because of that. But I feel like the tech expansion, I don't remember what the first one, Rise of Ix, I want to say. That one, adding the text, even though really I haven't really messed with those that much either, but I just feel like the ability that I can go another direction and get some text. The main thing it added was this tree where you can, an economy tree track that you can either keep moving up or you can cash in and get everything from it. And that, I like that a lot. Like, each expansion has added something that, to me, makes the game more enjoyable. But the main thing that each expansion has added is just the more cards. I felt like the cards got more geared to having your deck being able to be personalized. Like, man, if I go deeper into the Bene Gesserit, I think. If I go deeper into that and just keep getting cards that tack onto that, that makes my deck more consistently do this. Or I just felt like that they added more to that. It was able to be done before, but this just felt like it was easier to tech your deck a little bit more. And then the last one just has another track and another immortality, I think, and another way of just being able to move down that track and get victory points. So just so many different ways that it feels like you could engage to get victory points. Feels like I am always there. I'm always invested in the game. I'm always invested the whole time I'm playing because I'm always watching where each person's placing and hoping they don't place. Man, I got to make sure I place here before this person places here, but I also need to make sure I need this over here, and I need to make sure. You're just always invested in that game, I feel. And so I think this will stay on my list. It was 58 this year, 66 last year, so I think it's going to stay about right there because it's within 8, like I said. So I think it's going to stay here. And we'll see if it stays continuously, but each expansion just impresses me more. So, and I want to say even then, this list was made before I played with the new expansion. So I think it would even maybe possibly even go up a little bit more. But we'll see. Number 58, Dune Imperium. My number 57, it's not going anywhere. This is one I could have probably told you would be in my top 100. It should stay in my top 100. It is a great, solid worker placement game. The only year I would have doubted it not being in my top 100 would have been the first year I played it because I was like, it's too simple. But then I found it's got so much sentimentality to me of good times with friends. And it's just a solid, good worker placement game, especially with the expansion. And enough jibber-jabbering to lead on. My number 57 is Stone Age. Stone Age, I just always have fun in this game. It's always a good time. It's always a simple game. Even if I'm not getting the stuff I need because, well, there's actually so many ways you can mitigate the dice rolls. I'm just not one that ever uses those mitigations. So even if I'm just not rolling right, it just feels like I'm always having fun. And I have the Anniversary Edition, and I haven't even played with the Ice Age stuff yet. I need to. I always want to. Every time I bust it out, I'm always like, we should play with this. But then I don't want to go read something, or I don't want to introduce something, or we usually have a new person. So I'm like, we'll just teach the base game. Now, I will not play this game without the first expansion added in, which is the basically it's like an economy. It's got the bones. You can use those bones. You can go get those bones from hunting and other things, and you can use those to set up an economy where you can trade, basically a trade economy. To me, that is an amazing, because it makes it to where it's not just so much. I feel without that one, it's just always farm's going to get taken. Like, you can usually predict like how each game's going to play out. That economy usually opens it up a little bit more, I found, because yeah, you have one person that's usually always going to go steal each of those things and want them, but now because they already are at a certain point in that economy, they may not take that. They may just go a different direction or start dabbling in other things. So I've just found it feels like a more, while I like it because of the economy thing, it feels like just watching other people play, even when I don't go that route or even mess with that track. It feels like the options when I'm watching other people play, they aren't so frustrated like, oh, I'm never going to get that unless I'm first player. It feels like it just opened everything up a lot more, and I've noticed that with that expansion. Of course, it is hard to get expansion, but if you haven't played with it, I firmly think you should go invest in it. I think it's a great expansion. It adds a lot to it. Don't pay a lot. Don't pay a tooth and a nail for it. But I know, joke is the bones. But I do love this game, and it's 57 this year. It was 60 before that, 43, 41. So it dipped a little bit, but it's kind of in the same spot. I think it's going to stay there. But this game should stay solid in my top 100. I don't see it moving anywhere. And I think, in truth, we'll see if I see anything above this that I am surprised about. But most of the stuff above this is probably stuff that's going to stay in my top 100. So, because I'm finding now I'm saying that more and more on each of these. Stone Age, number 57. My number 56, off the top of my head, is probably my favorite Richard Garfield game. And we'll see. I may be wrong. Something else may have popped up. But this is the one I enjoy playing a lot. And it went up because of the expansion. Otherwise, it was staying steady. And it's my number 56 this year. And that is Bunny Kingdom. And I love this game. I love the drafting of it. If there's anything I just do not like in this game, and it annoys me to no end, it's the math of the game, the scoring. Doing that math each round, and it's usually me that has to do it, because other people, you can tell they're either doing it wrong or not thinking of it right. But there's no reason for me to be up in 400 and 500 points. That's just ridiculous. But I like this game. And the way you draft for either area control, and especially with the expansion, because I felt like the expansion fixed some issues that I had with the game. Like, I felt like getting luxury items or resources and getting certain like other resources was good if you had a good multiplier on the towers that you were drafting. But at the end of the day, those became fluff down the road. The expansion added another way to score victory points with the resources and luxuries if you're not getting those towers. And it actually added a little bit more to the drafting, I feel. I feel like, whereas there were a lot of times you were only just looking for certain things in your draft and grabbing those and passing, not even caring what else was in that hand, now it makes you look a little bit more at some of this stuff that's in those opening hands. I feel like the expansion is easily mixable in. I know people are like, oh, rainbows and stuff. Whatever, man. It's an easy way to add to the main board without having to add another board. I mean, it adds another board, but without having to just replace the board, I meant to say. Because it keeps that same constricted area control that you need on the main board. But now there's other things you can get up at the top, but they're not going to help you as much as... So I just felt like it added a lot more. And it went up for me. It was 71 last year, 81 the year before that. Really cool thing to look at and check out, especially if you like drafting games. This may be my favorite drafting game. I mean, I can think of another one I like also, but I don't know if it's up there. We'll see. But I think For right now, this is the only Richard Garfield game I can think of that should be this high. I can't think of another one. It could just be slipping my mind right now. But this is probably my favorite of them. And we saw Carnival Monsters earlier. I actually thought I liked Carnival Monsters more, and I think I did until this expansion from Bunny Kingdom. And I think that's what it was. I think that expansion was enough, because I found they were pretty close. Actually, it was Bunny Kingdom was 71. What was Carnival Monsters last year? Yeah, last year Carnival Monsters was 69, and this was 71. So I liked Carnival Monsters more. So if anything, if it was either that randomness and Pub Meeple cleaning it up for me, or that expansion fixing the problem that I felt I was feeling in Bunny Kingdom while it was about even, made me like it so much more. So now I'd rather play Bunny Kingdom. But Bunny Kingdom, number 56, there to stay, I think. And with that, I just realized I was about to continue on. And so I already looked at my 55, but we'll continue. I realized I hit the 15 that I'm going to do per video. So definitely some surprises there. I already see what the next one is, unfortunately. But I'll say that for the next video. But at the end of the day, I think I'm pretty happy where I'm seeing some of these at. We'll see how that continues. And remember, this is just my opinion on what I enjoy playing. Like I said, the way I do them. If this game's on this table and you're setting up this game on this table and I have an option to join in either of them with the perfect setup. Like, I enjoy playing games with this group of people, and I enjoy playing games with this same exact group of people equally. And which game am I going to choose? Not just, I just want to play that game. Like, I try to put all that into a perspective when I am choosing. Like I said, this is just my opinion on what I enjoy about them. Maybe different from yours, and that's just the way it should be, though. I mean, it'd be cool if we all agreed that every game should be this equal, or we enjoy them. But certain things just make one happier than the other inside their brain, and this is what does it in mine. And sorry if it feels like I'm either not talking enough about a game, or sometimes I go off talking too much about it. I guarantee there's going to, because I've already edited the first one I did, the 100 through 86, and already put that up on the channel. And I'm going to get this one out as soon as I get I still got to edit the other one, then get to this one. But I'm also trying to space these and time these, because I don't know when I'm going to be able to set up a collab that I'm going to do with Jammin' Outdoors. A gentleman that plays board games with us on the regular, and I want to collab with him for the top 40 for both our channels. And just because I feel like just doing it with him, as far as like having us reveal, because he does have a different take on games than I do and enjoys some other games. So we're going to reveal those, and I don't know when we're going to be able to get that together, so I don't want to have too much of a time period between this and that. So I'm kind of spreading these out a little bit. But I realize sometimes I talk about games. I'm probably editing out. Sometimes I'll go off on these tangents and probably have something in there where I'm comparing things. Like I said, I do want you to be able to look at these games and figure out if there's something you want to play or not. But then there's sometimes I may cut out something that made a comparison that may make you want to look at that game because you didn't realize it was compared to a game you liked. But I just trying to make these videos as short as possible and as painless as possible for you to watch, because I just feel weird talking about my games. But also I realize, like I said, a lot of the video that is filmed, it's just me talking about the game and what I think of the game, so that I can look back. Like, I'm not deleting all the other stuff. I'm just editing that for the channel, but I'm keeping all the other stuff for my own self, so I can look and see what I had to say about the game at the time and look back on the year and see if any of that changes when I watch, because I'll probably watch this all again before I do next year's videos. That way I can see what I said different, or feel different, or feel like if I said something. Either way, echo chambering, y'all. Anyways, I'm sure this video has been long enough. You'll probably see a lot of edits as I just edited out a lot of jibber jabber and talking. But other than that, hope you're enjoying the video. Hope I can have you look at some of these games. Or if you're one of my players who plays the games with us and you see something on here and you want to play it, let me know. We'll try to get it to the table on Thursday. I obviously enjoy these games, so I'm down to play them. So I'm cool with putting them on the table for our Thursdays and Sunday board games. So either way, thank you for watching and have a great day.